to step into a figurative classroom because we're talking about classroom disruption, classroom behaviour. It's a big contributing factor to why teachers leave the profession because it can be really, really tricky. So what's going on? How is it fixable? You know, what can be done to help kids and teachers as well? Ben Sacco is an education expert and he has written a book called Disruption in Schools. And he's been all over the state teaching and helping educators. G'day, Ben.
Hey, how are you, Mary?
I'm very well. Now, tell me, what is the current landscape like in the classroom? What's it like for students?
Look, children and young people today live in a world of constant information and digital exposure. So with everything at their fingertips, there is a lot going on for them that is creeping from the outside world and experiences into the regular classroom. And so whilst most young people today are not just overwhelmed with the volume of information they're consuming, there's some things around distinguishing between what's helpful and what's harmful. And that's playing out in our classrooms as well.
And teachers, how are they feeling? We know there's a big rate of teachers leaving their profession after a 5-year sort of go at it.
Yeah, Mary, I think the main thing here is that teachers, we acknowledge teachers are managing increasingly difficult classroom demands daily. And you're right, it's been reported about feeling undervalued and overworked. But there's a relationship dynamic between teachers and students, which sometimes can be quite toxic. Kids swearing at teachers, threatening teachers, walking around the room with a sense of no regard for the rest of the room. And you know, as you said, I'm in schools weekly and I see this tricky dynamic play out.
Yeah, I mean, I was not naughty really at school, but I did used to get in trouble for laughing. But I think that the current landscape is quite different to what it was, and it's not as simple a fix as people would like it to be in terms of, you know, kids just need to be more respectful. There's a whole heap of factors that come into it, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely, Mary, and you raise a really good point about the world, 30 years ago, and to compared to the modern classroom versus the classroom 30 years ago, and the challenges that young people are needing to navigate, the ways things make them feel and think, and the role modelling in their life, and the pressures in society around young people, and the perceived mental health and physical health challenges that they document in young people's surveys.
If I think back to my school years, there weren't as many inputs into my life. I had my family, I had my friends at school, and then a sort of a broader community, but I didn't have access to a global information, sort of menu, and it certainly must be hard for the kids to deal with. What's going to help, Ben? What helps?
Yeah, look, the good news is we can do something about this, and the work that I focus on is helping teachers understand more about why children might behave the way they do. So understanding body and brain, and how to create a learning environment where young people can feel good about why they're there, and their sense of belonging and connection, and their social interactions with other peers. That's offline. That's really positive in the classroom with their classroom teachers and their friends, as you're saying.
It's basically about building connection and relationships, I suppose.
Yeah. To your point, it absolutely is from my point of view, and there's a lot of work in this space around the power of positive relationships and just respecting each other and building a reciprocal relationship based on mutual trust and respect, which is really what it means to be a good human to a fellow human, right?
Yeah.
So just as an outcome, right, children will feel happier and safer if they feel respected, but that goes both ways. Teachers need to feel that respect as well. So it's really about, you and I talking about this issue and understanding each other's perspectives. That can play out really in a positive way in the classroom if people are understanding each other's perspectives and learning environments have a real opportunity here to help drive positive relationships between young people and their teachers.
Yeah, sure. Ben, I've had a text come in. I want to read it to you and see what you think. Back in the day, 1960s, 1970s, if you got into trouble at school, for me quite often, thanks for that confession, if you made a rookie mistake and told your parents, you'd get into trouble twice. Now, parents phone the school and deny the youngster's behaviour. That's from Catherine. What do you think about that? What's the parents', how's the parent-school relationships?
Yeah, great to hear some of your listeners actually call in or text in. Parent-school relationships are another tricky space. I would argue that positive relationships between the parents and the school, they only enhance the situation to resolve behaviours of concern and find solutions together rather than an us against them kind of mentality that sometimes plays out and really disrupts the opportunity for helping young people at the coalface.
Oh, it's just that you do hear a lot about that. There's a parental, the parental intervention, I guess, is different to how it used to be.
I think parents love their kids, even if we disagree with some of the parenting styles out there.
Sure, yeah.
It's just understanding, at least from my experience in the business, is understanding where people are coming from and helping to grow the parents' understanding of education policy, what a regular classroom looks like, the limitations that are on some teachers in our sector, the resources that may not exist, but that people come from a place of heart, and we've just got to find that common ground. People are passionate, we love our kids, so we're going to advocate for them, right?
Yeah.
I respect that.
Yeah. Ben, there was a Senate inquiry into classroom disruption, and the report was handed down in February last year, and one of the recommendations was a behaviour curriculum. So we know, obviously, there are learning curriculums. What do you think about a behaviour curriculum?
Very much that it concerns people in the sector that have a potential view around curriculum to teach behaviour will solve all issues. I come from the side of the fence that says I'm all for creating explicit approaches to supporting our young people learn about how to interact with each other. But I would caution the behaviour curriculum idea that teachers can have a one-size-fits-all rollout of teaching young people how to behave. I think it's more nuanced than that. We're talking about the way in which a young person is experiencing things outside of school, not just in school, and how we work through those things with them and teach to the potential of the individual in front of us rather than sort of name just rules that they need to abide by. And if they break those rules when they're going through life adversity, we're going to dish out some old school punitive sort of consequences. I think we're better than that. So I just think there's a bit of work to do around this behaviour curriculum conversation that is happening at the moment in Australian schools.
Yeah, I think that there are some creative approaches that can be undertaken, and that we've just got so much data and information, so much more than we did, decades ago. And I think we're in a real transitional age of schools and teaching. That's what it feels like to me as a parent of school kids, anyway.
Yeah, you're spot on, Mary, and I think that just to call that out, that your parent experience is so vital because it helps inform better ways we can do things on the ground in the education space. And so, we live in a very data-driven society, right, compared to 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a product of the society we live in, which is why we see these things play out in schools. And I just think it's about understanding that there are ways that we can build more, not compliant, but more respectful ways that we work with each other and teach young people in a partnership approach why there are outcomes for behaviour choices they might make and help them see that positive pathway. Because we just want the best for our kids.
Absolutely.
We just got to find those pathways together.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for your time this morning. That's Ben Sacco, education expert and author of Disruption in Schools, talking about ways to help teachers and students and parents work something out all together.